Hey, everybody, and welcome to Mafia Means Family podcast. I'm Mafia Mom.
I'm Mini Mafia. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more amazing content.
So, Minnie, how's your week been?
Mine's been great.
Yeah. Sorry we couldn't do the show live this week. We had a lot going on. It's been a busy week, but you had a football game this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened?
We unfortunately lost.
Yeah.
38-0.
It was a rough game.
I had my second tackle of the season,
Yep.
and I also had my first forced fumble.
You did. It was good. It was good. So Minnie is one of the youngest kids on the team, and unfortunately, they don't get to play a whole lot. But he's definitely making the most of the opportunities he's getting. So very proud of you, kid. Good job.
Thanks.
Let's try to very, very quickly move through last week because that was a very typical Buffalo Bills loss. Clock mismanagement, quarterback 30% completion, drops, guys getting injured. It was rough. What did you think of the Houston game?
I don't have words.
Fair enough. I will say, oh God, sorry.
Just bad.
The offense was bad. Without Shakir, it really was rough. They had a rough time getting anything going. James Cook was actually running the ball pretty effectively. He was averaging over 4 yards a carry, but it wasn't enough. We needed something in the pass game because they just started stacking the box and we couldn't get anything going. No rhythm. Part of it was on Josh, and I don't say that often because I don't think it's normally on him, but he is missing deep balls this year at an alarming rate. I don't think he's really hit on one. A couple, I think, have been a little bit on the receivers, but like overall, it's been Josh, and he just can't seem to get that chemistry down with the receivers deep, and that's concerning. So again, don't want to spend too much time in the Houston game. Let's move forward. It's a new week. I will say we got all of our predictions for last week wrong. Hot take, Josh Allen stat line, all of it wrong. Doesn't matter. Out the window. We are going to call out two players of the game. Normally we do it offensively and defense. We're not giving any offensive players of the game from last week. Nobody really stepped up, right?
Yeah, nobody really had a decent game.
Yeah.
Well, Cook had a decent game. So did Coleman, but he only had like
Coleman
catches.
had one catch.
Yeah, he had one catch.
It was a great catch, but yeah,
touchdown.
one catch. And again, Cook was good, but he only ended up with 82 yards. I mean, it was limited carries, but it is what it is.
Really, nobody but Cook stepped up.
Agreed.
So I don't really think we should give anybody.
Fair enough. No players of the game for offense. So defensive player of the game. You want to go first or second?
Second.
Okay. So I'm going to go first.
I would like to see yours because I think you have some interesting.
Thanks. Appreciate that. So I kind of have two that I want to call out defensively. One is Bobby Babich, our defensive coordinator. Look, he had a really rough outing in Baltimore. Very, very rough. And then he bounced back and started out rough against Houston, giving up that huge pass to Nico Collins. It wasn't pretty. But he made adjustments and he figured out how to rally the defense. And the defense forced turnovers. They put pressure with four-man fronts usually. They played really well. And in the secondary, they essentially took Houston out of the game. I mean, they really did play well. So this loss in no way was on the defense to me. The other individual I want to call out, and you love to see that from young coordinators or first-time coordinators who just don't have a lot of experience calling plays, because it can be hard to bounce back once you get down on yourself, no different than the athletes themselves. So it was really good to see Bobby Babich bounce back. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Bobby Babich bounce back. It's a lot of B's. The other one that I wanted to call out was our young rookie nose tackle, Dwayne Carter, who was in there because of the Ed Oliver injury. Ed Oliver's going to miss this week again. And I was really impressed with him. He had 3 tackles, and he was disruptive in there. Like, you could see why he was drafted where he was. He deserved to be. And I think even when Oliver comes back, I would like to see him in the lineup because he's clearly a good player, and I want to see what he can do throughout the season. So those would be my two. Who do you got?
I have Bernard.
Bernard, it's a good choice. What did you think of Bernard this last week? First game back after their injury, right?
First game back after a pec injury?
Yep. Came back early, too. Came back quick.
And he got his first interception. He had like 4+ tackles and an interception or something.
Yeah, he had a good game for sure. He stepped up and Yeah, I would agree with you. I think he had a good game, definitely. Yeah. Anything else you want to add about the Houston game?
I don't think I want to, because there's nothing else really good to talk about.
Fair enough. Let's move forward then. Flushing the Houston game. We're done with it. Let's move on. I will not even get into the bad clock management at the end of the game. The only thing I will say is that I understood running the ball in first or throwing the ball in first down. I really did. If you could have picked up a good chunk play, or I understood throwing 3 times if you were at your own 25 or 30. But from your own inside your own 5 to throw the ball 3 straight times, it just lacked all common sense. I can't even with he's been around too long to be making these mistakes still. I don't get it. Moving on from last week. Done with it. Factor flag. This is Minnie's favorite part. So you want to explain what factor flag is?
Factor flag is a trivia game. I have a flag right here. If I do this, I think the statement that Mafia Mom here names is false. If I say fact, it would be true.
Simple enough. If you want to play along in the comments, please don't cheat or cheat and get them all right if you're really smart. Either way. All right. So you ready? First factor flag. So no, just for the record, you're 8-5 so far this season. So
8-5,
winning record.
Pretty good.
Okay. Here we go. So since 2010, teams that make a coaching change, which we know the Jets just did, and have an interim head coach, okay, have a losing record. Now,
I would think
want to give you some perspective.
They don't really know the playbook.
Well, they're usually on the staff and they get promoted to head coach. But what teams fire their head coach mid-season? Are they teams that are doing good?
Teams that are doing bad.
Right, that are underperforming. So keep that in mind. But so teams that have an interim head coach in their first game with that interim head coach have a losing record in that first game.
So that's
factor flag. That's the full statement.
I'm saying that's a fact.
And you would think it was. Unfortunately, it is not. So those teams since 2010 are 16-3. They're
16-3.
So teams that fire, there's a reason for it though. Let's think about this. Teams that fire their head coach midseason are not bad teams. They are teams that are underperforming. The same way that when a good team has a backup quarterback, they have a winning record when that backup quarterback plays that first game only. It gives the guys around them a jolt. It creates a stir. It causes energy. So the same way with the backup quarterback in that very first game for good teams. Bad teams lose with backup quarterbacks that first game. Good teams, even if they're not playing well, get a jolt from that interim head coach or that backup quarterback. So 16-13, not a crazy winning record, but again,
16-13.
16-13.
Okay,
but again,
I thought it said 16-3.
No, sorry, 16-13. But again, you have to think about it. If these teams are firing their interim head coach, they're probably doing really bad before that. So a 16-13 record is pretty impressive coming into it with interim head coaches. So let's keep that in mind for the Jets this week. Even though they have an interim head coach, they're actually statistically more likely to win than lose this game, according to recent history. All right, so it's 0-1 so far. So you ready?
Okay,
Go moving on to number 2.
8-6.
8-6, yep. Okay, so number 2. The Bills have not lost 3 consecutive regular season games in the last 5 seasons.
Last 5 seasons?
Yep, so we've lost back-to-back right now. The Bills have not lost 3 consecutive regular season games since at least before the 2019 season.
I'm going to say that's a fact.
You would be correct, sir.
Yes, 9-6.
So let's keep that streak going, McDermott, Allen. Let's keep that going, okay? We don't need to lose 3 in a row. We do not need to end up in second place, tied with the same record, but in second place in the division.
With the Dolphins.
No, with the Jets.
Jets?
We need to go out there and prove that this is still our division and that the division runs through Buffalo. Okay, you ready? Last one. So you got 1 right and 1 wrong there. You're 9-6. Here we go. Aaron Rodgers is tied for the most consecutive games without a 300-yard passing game in the last decade. He's had 28 straight games without a 300-yard passing game, and that is the longest streak. It's tied for the longest streak in the last decade that any quarterback has experienced.
In the last decade?
Yep. So remember, going back 28 games would go back to his time in Green Bay. That's not just Jets time.
In the
He's
last
only
10 years.
in the last 10 years. No, so in the last
Oh,
10
that's
years.
definitely a flag. He's gone over 300 in the last 10 years.
No. Yes, Aaron Rodgers has gone over 300 yards in the last 10 years, but he has gone the last 28 straight games without going over 300. And that's the most games that any quarterback over the last 28 or over the last 10 years has gone.
Oh. Okay, so in the last 28
In the last
games.
10 years, yes, no quarterback has gone into 29 games in a row without a 300-yard passing game, and Aaron Rodgers is currently at 28. So that would be going back like a full season and a half, basically, with Green Bay, just so you're aware.
I'm going to say that's a fact because at the end of his Green Bay season, he wasn't doing too well because Adams was gone.
That actually runs into, it is a fact. Good job.
Yes.
It actually, the last 300-yard passing game he had was in his MVP season, week 14. He has not had a 300-yard passing game in 28 straight games. That includes playoffs. There's a couple quarterbacks in the last 10 years who've had 28 straight games without a 300-yard passing game. Josh Allen is one. Justin Fields is another. However, they've gotten it on the 29th game. So if we hold Aaron Rodgers to under 300 yards passing in this game on Monday,
he will break a really bad record.
It would be a bad record for him to break, yes. But he would have the longest streak, and he does have the longest active streak as well. So out of any quarterback right now who's currently playing, it's been more games for Aaron Rodgers without 300 yards passing than anybody else, other than like the rookies, of course, because they haven't played 28 games.
Okay, so he's broken one record so far.
He's tied it, but only for the last 10 years. You got to remember, when you go back to football from like other decades, they didn't pass that much. So 300 yards was kind of a big deal, like a very big deal. So
like 200 was a big deal.
Maybe, probably back, like way back. But yes. Okay. So you called that one a fact, right?
Yep.
All right. 10-6. Good job.
Hey.
You won 2 out of 3 today. All right. I hope you guys did good too. All right. Moving on. Players to watch. This is for the upcoming game against the Jets. Me first. You want to start with offense or defense?
How about one person does both and then the other one does both?
Fair enough. Okay. So you want me to go first?
Yep.
Okay. And again, in the comments, please tell us who your players to watch are for this upcoming week. There's a lot to pick from because we're kind of waiting for people to step up, I feel like, right now. And for me, I'm kind of two opposite ends of the spectrum here. So my offensive player to watch is Josh. And I know it's an easy pick and it's kind of a cheap pick, but we need to see him bounce back. Look, I saw some flash out of Josh in the first couple games of the season where he looked like old Josh before all the stuff with Diggs and before the Dorsey stuff and all that. He looked happy to be playing football again. I haven't noticed that in the last 2 games. He's sitting on the bench by himself. He's not engaging with his teammates. He just looks off on the field. Like something is not right, whether it's an injury or what. Something is off. And I can appreciate playing through an injury. However, if you are a player who chooses to play through an injury, it's not an excuse then. If you're out there playing, we expect you to play the way that we know you're capable of playing. So I appreciate if he's fighting through something physically right now, that's fine. If you choose to go out there and play, then you need to make sure that you at least show some energy. On the sideline, he's looking at the tablet. I get it, like he's smashing tablets, fine, great, whatever. I don't care about that. Get involved with your teammates. Be the leader on that team that team needs. And I don't think in the last few games, I don't think he's shown that. So, and I also, 30% completion is scary. And we need to bounce back.
Especially for Josh.
For sure. And yes, we do need some separation for pass catchers. I'm with you there. But we need a bounce back from Josh Allen. And we need him to play like the Josh Allen that we all love.
Let Josh be Josh.
Right. On defense. So this is a little, it's the D line, but very specific. So it is the Jets have struggled to run the ball so far. And I agree with Dan Orlovsky. If anybody saw him on One Bills Live, he talked about the edges for the Bills defense having to have an impact in the run game. And I agree with that. We need to be able to set the edge in the run game. If we make the Jets one-dimensional, I like our secondary against their receivers, knock on wood. I think our secondary has actually played pretty well overall, minus a couple plays here and there. But I like I want to see our edges step up against this Jets O-line. The other player for me to watch is the same one that I had player of the game from last week, and that's Dwayne Carter. Ed Oliver is not going to play again this week, and his presence is missed in the middle there. Dwayne Carter brings something to the table, and I would like to see him step up this week and have some more impact plays. So those would be my player to watch. Who do you got?
I'm gonna start with defense. My
Okay.
defensive is Bernard. He
It's
started
always
off
a good
hot,
choice.
first game back.
Yep.
He was
Quarterback of the D. I like it. He was what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
he was cooking.
He was cooking. What do you expect to see out of him? So you think he'll lead us in tackles?
I don't think he'll lead us in tackles.
Okay.
I think he'll be our second best tackler with 6.
Okay. And do you expect splash plays out of him or just being a disruptive, just not allowing big plays? Like, what are you expecting out of him this week?
I expect probably 1 tackle for loss
Okay.
and an interception.
Wow. Okay. All right. So forcing mistakes. I like it. I like it. All right. Offensive.
Because Aaron
Oh.
Rodgers in the last game threw 3 picks.
He did. He had a rough week.
So hopefully he keeps that up. That would be great.
I will also say, sorry, that's something I meant to add when I was talking about Josh Allen. The Jets defense has been flagged for a lot of penalties, specifically in the pass game. I think it's like the 3rd most in the NFL for pass defense. They got called like 6 times last week against the Vikings for like pass interference, illegal contact, holding, whatever. All of those are automatic first downs. 3 of those were pass interference, which is a spot foul, which is a big deal. I think that the Jets DBs have always been very handsy, just like the Baltimore Ravens. So let's see if it gets called this week, and let's see if we can capitalize on that extracurricular activities that tend to go on with defensive backfields that want to play like that. So I meant to add that before. So sorry, go
I
ahead.
have something to add. Considering Keon Coleman is a pretty physical receiver, and cornerbacks tend to, well, I get this is his first year, but they tend to get a little handsy with him
Yes,
so
they
far.
are.
Considering Sauce is one of the handsiest DBs in
Sauce
the
may
league.
not be playing. I actually meant to look that up. Sauce had a head injury last week.
Ooh. Well,
So go ahead. I'm
considering
sorry.
Their DBs are some of the handiest in the league. I expect there to be at least 1 pass interference on Coleman. At least 1.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see if he can draw that for sure. What
Yeah.
about your offensive player of the game?
I have one more thing to add about
Go ahead.
Coleman. He played basketball. He had the opportunity to go to the NBA or the NFL. He chose the NFL. So he's pretty good at selling the flop
Okay.
or the fake.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. Now to my offensive player of the game.
It does.
Not my player of the game. The
players to watch.
yes.
I do just want to add that I forgot Sauce Gardner went back in the game versus the Vikings, so he is expected to play. So I'm sorry about that. It was bad info. Go ahead.
Okay, my offensive player to watch is Kincaid. He hasn't had a big game in a while, and I expect this to be a pretty big game. He's faster than most of the linebackers, and he's stronger than the safeties.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
So he could be a big disruption on 3rd downs, considering Shakir
Right. Shakir
probably
is
isn't
iffy
going to
to
be
play.
in.
Yeah. Now let me ask you, where is the common place on the field to use tight ends?
Commonplace?
Yeah.
Inside the numbers.
Inside the numbers. Why are we not playing inside the numbers in the pass game? It is driving me crazy. Every pass play, every pattern that we're calling is these out routes to the edges. And when you have a quarterback who is struggling with his rhythm and who is struggling to complete passes, you don't continue to make the passes harder for him. The thing that we were loving about Joe Brady is that he made it simple. He made it easy. He is overcomplicating things right now. Stop. Just stop, Brady. You do not have the athletes to play the entire game outside the numbers. Last week, when we finally started moving the ball, it was because we were using the middle of the field. You have a very talented young tight end. You have a big-bodied receiver. You have in Shakir a very talented slot receiver, and Curtis Samuel, a gadget guy. Use the middle of the field, please. Please get some easy completions for Josh early. And I'm not talking about bubble wide receiver screens or bubble tight end screens. Use the middle of the field. Sorry, end rant. Anything you want to add to that? I'm sorry. I was screaming at the TV the entire game to use the middle of the field.
She really was.
Driving me crazy. Use the middle of the field. I'm sorry.
Quarterbacks usually like to go into the numbers. I'm pretty sure Tua loves to
Well,
go
yeah,
inside the
Tua
numbers.
can kind of only throw inside the numbers,
Yeah.
but yeah. Yeah.
And it works.
Yes. They're easier completions. They're easier.
If you pass inside the numbers, so much easier than the outside. It's a shorter throw, and you most likely get your guy in space because there's less DBs. If you get him behind the linebackers and in between the safeties, he has space to run.
And look, I get it. When Josh is feeling it, when he's really in rhythm, I don't care where you have him throw the ball because he's just that good. But when he's struggling, it just I don't know. Like I'm not one of those people who think that I know better than these football minds like Sean McDermott, Joe Brady, Bobby Belichick. I don't. Okay, I don't. I'm not a professional football coach. I'm not an offensive coordinator. I'm not a defensive coordinator. But it seems so obvious to me. Like when something works, do it. And they're just like, oh well, this works, but let's go do this instead. This is more fun. I don't care. Like please, just make it simple, Joe Brady. I'm begging you. Just use the middle of the field.
Get off the NFL
Use
script.
Kincaid. I'm not even going to touch that one. All right. Anything else you want to add about players to watch for next week?
I had to throw that in there. Just get off the NFL script. I had to throw that out there.
I hope you don't really believe that the NFL is scripted.
I don't. Just a lot of people do.
I know. And it's ridiculous for many, many reasons. One of which is you would never have a team as unpopular as the LA Rams win the Super Bowl because it loses you money. You wouldn't even have them in that position. They have like no fans. They have to use silent counts in their own stadium. You had a Super Bowl in LA with an LA team and they still had to use a silent count at times. And you think that the NFL script would have them win the Super Bowl over a team where they would sell dozens, like hundreds of thousands of jerseys, millions of jerseys? That makes no sense. Anyway, sorry. I'm ranting. I'm really ranting today. I apologize. Anything else you want to add about players to watch? You're getting me all worked up here. What are we doing? All right. Moving on. Josh Allen Staley. Why don't you go first? Me first this time again?
Okay, fine. I'll go first.
All right, go ahead.
You have gone first like the last 2 episodes. So
Yeah.
I'll go first this time.
All right, appreciate it.
For me, 200 yards passing, 3 touchdowns passing, 0 interceptions passing, 40 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown.
So if you're counting, that's 3 passing TDs and 1 rushing TD. So 4 TDs for Mr. Josh Allen. That is a bounce back game if I've ever heard of one.
And
I love it.
Still 0 interceptions.
Listen, 6 games without a pick for the turnover machine. The guy who couldn't stop throwing turnovers. It's amazing how much those turnovers have gone down now that Gabe Davis is no longer on the field. Just saying. I like it. I think it's ambitious, but I think if Josh is on, that's the kind of game he could have. He has historically struggled against the Jets defense, and I don't think that is just going to vanish because Robert Saleh is gone. So I'm a little bit more conservative in some areas, and I'm a little structured a little more than you in others. I think he's going to have a little bit more passing yards than you. I have him at about 220. I only see 2 passing TDs and another 50 yards on the ground. He tends to take off versus the Jets usually because they're getting pressure in his face, which we'll discuss in a moment. That Minnie has some ideas about that for this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do see him potentially adding a touchdown on the ground. I don't think he's had a rushing touchdown since week 1. I want to say maybe he had one against Miami. But it's been a while, and he doesn't usually go that long. So now I know part of that is that we've been able to hand the ball off inside the 5 to both James Cook and Ty Johnson and Ray Davis. So like part of it's that, but also like a lot of Josh's touchdowns came from between that 5 to 10 yard mark, and I just haven't seen him take off this year a lot. Sometimes I want him to, sometimes he's finding the open guy, whatever. But either way, I think he adds a rushing touchdown this week, and I think you did too. I also have him with 0 picks again. Look, keep doing what you're doing as far as taking care of the ball because it's working. All right. Anything else about Josh's stat line?
Nope.
All right. Do you think there's any hurdles this week?
Yes.
You think you're getting a hurdle? Like a full hurdle or a partial hurdle?
Partial hurdle.
Partial hurdle? Okay.
I think he's going to... Wait, CJ Mosley still on the Jets?
He's been hurt, so he's been iffy to play. I don't know if he's going to play or not.
He's going to have a partial hurdle over Sauce Gardner when he fakes it to Coleman.
All right. That's very specific, and I love it.
He's going to be diving at his legs, and he's just go.
All right, I would love it. That would be awesome. I will just let you know that I very rarely tell Minnie these questions I'm going to ask because I don't think of them beforehand. Something just gets said, and I'm like, hey, I'm curious about this. So these aren't pre-planned. He has no idea I'm going to ask. He does not have an answer prepared. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Hot takes, first or second?
Second.
Second. Okay. My hot take, I alluded to it earlier, is Dwayne Carter. He's getting an opportunity right now to play because of the injury to Ed Oliver, and I think he wants to make the most of that opportunity. I think he wants to give the Bills coaching staff not just a reason to keep him on the field, but he wants to make it so hard for them to take him out of the active lineup that he earns a spot. And if he continues to play the way he did last week, that's what he's doing because he was productive last week. I think Dwayne Carter gets his first NFL sack this week on Mr. Aaron Rodgers. What a story to be able to tell that you sacked a first ballot Hall of Famer on your first ever NFL sack. And I want him to go out there and get that. So I really think Dwayne Carter, either way, I think he'll be disruptive this week, but I believe he gets his first sack.
I do have a thing I want to mention about last year what happened with Aaron Rodgers. I hope he doesn't get injured on the first play again. It wasn't funny that he got injured, but it was kind of funny that it was only 4 plays in.
Yeah, the injury was really tragic. Like, you don't want to see anybody go
yeah,
down. I agree.
Like, the injury wasn't funny,
but it was a very,
like, how long it took to happen.
It was a very Jets-like or Bills-like, to be honest with you, way to start a season that this quarterback you just went out there and spent all this money for. You've had all this hype around you all off season, goes down 4 plays in and his season's over. So there was some irony there for sure.
Definitely.
All right. So what is your hot take for this week, Mr.
My
Mini?
hot take is the O-line will let up 0 sacks.
Okay, they've had a rough couple weeks.
Williams.
Okay.
I think the O-line's angry and they want to prove that they can do it. Like, that they can give Josh enough time so that he can actually throw the ball.
Yeah, I like it. The first 3 weeks of the year, and I understand we went up against the Cardinals, the Dolphins, who we went up against the Dolphins with Tua, which is a little bit different than what they've been playing with lately. But the Cardinals, the Dolphins, and the Jags. But after that Jags game, they were talking about the Bills potentially having the best O-line in the league. And I think the last 2 weeks, you've seen some serious cracks in that, whether it's miscommunications or I don't know, guys screwing. I don't know what it is, but it needs to get fixed and quickly because something's off with Josh and it's not helping the situation that he's having guys in his lap before he can get to the top of his drop. Not that Josh never holds the ball too long and doesn't fall for pressure. That's not what I'm saying. But there are plays in each of the last 2 games where Josh had no time to react. And I'm not talking about like a freak slot blitzer coming in, a little guy that Josh can just stiff arm or throw off of him and run away from. I'm talking about linemen breaking through the line of scrimmage in a 5-step drop and being on top of Josh before he gets to the top of that. And that can't happen. It just can't. It needs to get better. It really does. We have a very talented franchise quarterback back there, and you need to protect him. And when you don't have a receiver that you can just hurl prayers up to, like Mahomes does with Kelsey or Tua does with Hill or Josh did with Diggs for a while. If you don't have that guy, then you need an O-line who can protect and let him read the field.
Or Sam Darnold with Justin Jefferson.
And I don't think Sam Darnold kind of throws prayers up to somebody no matter what team he's on. But he's getting better about that, and he's been playing very, very well. I don't mean to insult him. But you need to protect Josh if you're not going to have a go-to receiver like that. Fingers crossed that maybe there's still a move made for a go-to receiver. I'm not going to say much more than that, but everybody knows what we're looking at. And everybody knows that we should be in that equation depending on whether or not the other team is willing to eat some of the salary. I understand he's on the wrong side of 30. The guy is still a top 3 receiver to me.
If we can get him,
it changes everything if he comes in here.
We're going to the Super Bowl.
I don't know if I would say that, but I do think that he's more talented than Diggs ever was, and that could make a difference. But I don't want to get too sidetracked.
If we get this receiver, we're at least making it to the AFC Championship game.
I mean, we should, but we've figured out ways to lose before, and most of those times it was not about the offense. So we'll see what happens. All right. Anything else you want to add about hot takes for this week?
Nope.
I will say just kind of a mini hot take. I still am fully expecting an interception out of Rasul Douglas soon. I don't think he gets it this week. Aaron Rodgers is his ex-teammate, though, and he probably does know his tendencies pretty well. Remember, they played together at Green Bay for a long time. I just expect – I think him and Bedford are playing really, really well. Don't get me wrong. Possibly one of the best tandems in the league right now. They're just playing really strong. But I do expect some more splash plays out of Douglas. And interceptions seem to come in bunches. So if he gets one, I would expect it for that to kind of roll for a while there. So okay, just wanted to add that in there. All right, score predictions. First or second?
I'll go first.
You'll go first. All right. So you sure? Because yours is a little bit crazier than mine. So you sure you want to go first?
I'll go second.
Okay.
I want to have the last score prediction.
All right. So I think this is very similar to what was my score prediction last week? Let's see. My score prediction last week. Oh no, I had 30-24 last week, so I guess it's not. I expect our defense to play a strong game, and I expect the offense to bounce back this week, with or without Shakir, which I'm hoping he can play. James Cook is also going to be a game time decision, although it looks like he's going to suit up. But even without James Cook, who I really like, Ty Johnson and Ray Davis are very capable backs, and I think that they can handle the load if necessary. I expect the Bills to bounce back, though, and I have a score prediction here of 27-16. I do think that the Jets, if you're doing the math on that, they get one touchdown probably early on, and then we force them to settle for field goals the rest of the way. So that's my prediction, 27-16. What do you got?
I have a more drastic score.
You do.
Jets 17. Bills 38.
Almost 40 on the Jets.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I like it. I like it a
With
lot.
a new head coach.
Yeah, the Josh has struggled against the Jets defense, and that's what worries me. But I like it. I'd love to see it. Trust me, it'd be awesome. I would love to see us get back on track here.
I think Josh is angry this week, and he's gonna prove that he is a top 3 quarterback.
Fair enough. Fair. All right, I like it. Definitely. Anything else you would like to add before we close out here today? Nothing.
No.
Nothing. Okay. Oh, listen.
Wait, there is one.
Oh, what's up?
Have a happy Columbus Day.
Happy Columbus Day. Okay. I think it's called Indigenous People Day now.
That was. I thought that was Friday.
No, that was Superintendent Day. Not all schools head off of that. Whatever Monday is, enjoy your holiday, whether it's kids home from school or parents, hopefully you're off of work and don't have to scramble to figure out what to do with the kids because they're home from school.
Yeah.
I believe we will be able to go live next Thursday. It's looking that way. If anything changes, we will try to record a show to bring it to you. But please leave your Josh Allen stat line, your hot take, your answers to fact or flag, your score prediction. Please leave it down below. I try to check the comments as much as possible, and anything relevant to Minnie, I definitely share with him.
Yep.
Also, our great friend Tommy, who this is his channel, and he does a phenomenal job on his own shows. He's always right on top of those comments as well and always tries to respond back. So most YouTubers don't do that. So good for him that he makes sure that people know that he's reading them and that he'll engage in a conversation with anybody.
Yep.
After that, yeah, hopefully, like I said, we'll be back next Thursday. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. From our family to yours, until next time.
Go Bills!